if the person you're seeing might be involved with other people. While trust is essential in any relationship, certain behaviors can raise questions and reveal clues about someone's intentions or level of commitment. Understanding these subtle signs isn't about jumping to conclusions. It's about observing patterns with a stoic mindset, calm, rational, and without emotional overreaction. In today's video, we'll uncover 11 secret signs she may have multiple partners. These are not wild assumptions, but practical observations that help you assess the situation with clarity and wisdom. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control, our reactions, boundaries, and choices. And learning to spot these signs will empower you to make decisions that serve your peace of mind and well-being. Before we get started, I want to ask you, have you ever noticed red flags in a relationship that you later realized were significant? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy content that blends stoic wisdom with modern relationships, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's get into it and uncover these 11 key signs you need to know. She's inconsistent with communication. One of the first and most telling signs that she may have multiple partners is inconsistency in her communication. When someone is genuinely invested in a relationship, they tend to maintain steady and reliable communication. However, if you notice frequent gaps, delayed responses, or a shift in her availability, it could indicate that her attention is divided. This inconsistency doesn't necessarily mean she's being deceitful, but it's a sign that she might be juggling multiple connections, intentionally or unintentionally. For instance, you may experience moments when she is fully present, replying quickly, engaging in meaningful conversations, and showing enthusiasm, only for her to suddenly disappear or become distant. If you find yourself wondering why her communication patterns fluctuate so much, it's worth observing this behavior with a calm and rational mindset, as Stoicism teaches us. Avoid jumping to emotional conclusions, but recognize the red flag for what it is, a lack of consistency. Inconsistent communication often pairs with vagueness. You may notice she doesn't offer specifics about where she's been, why she was unavailable, or when you'll hear from her next. Responses like, "I've been busy," or "Things are just hectic right now," become recurring themes without much explanation. While everyone has busy days, ongoing ambiguity combined with disappearing acts could suggest she is prioritizing time with others. Another subtle clue lies in the tone of her communication. When someone has multiple partners, they often become less emotionally invested in any single relationship. Conversations may feel surface level or rushed, lacking the depth and consistency of someone who truly wants to connect. If you find that she only reaches out sporadically, or when it's convenient for her, it may indicate that she's managing multiple relationships while avoiding deeper emotional involvement. In conclusion, inconsistent communication is a clear signal that something may be off. While it's important not to assume the worst, Stoicism teaches us to observe patterns calmly and rationally without allowing emotions to cloud our judgment. If her communication is unreliable, vague, or lacking depth, take it as an opportunity to evaluate the relationship and decide whether it aligns with your values and expectations. Trust is built on consistency, and without it, the foundation of any relationship can quickly crumble. Her plans are always vague or last-minute. Another subtle but telling sign that she may have multiple partners is her tendency to keep plans vague or make last-minute arrangements. When someone is genuinely invested in a relationship, they prioritize spending quality time together and are intentional about planning ahead. However, if her plans with you are frequently unclear or seem like an afterthought, it may indicate that her attention is divided. For example, you might notice that she avoids committing to specific times or events. She could say things like, "Let's see how the week goes," or "I'll let you know later." These vague responses might seem harmless at first, but if they become a consistent pattern, it can suggest she's keeping her options open. When someone is managing multiple relationships, they often hesitate to lock themselves into plans, as they need the flexibility to accommodate other priorities. Another sign is her tendency to reach out at the very last minute. While spontaneous plans can sometimes be fun, repeatedly hearing from her only when it's convenient, such as late at night or when other plans fall through, can be a red flag. This behavior suggests that she may be slotting you into her schedule as a backup option rather than prioritizing your time together. You might also notice that her plans lack depth or structure. If your time together often feels unplanned or rushed, it could be a sign that she's juggling commitments with others. For example, she might frequently cancel or change plans with little notice, offering excuses that seem repetitive or inconsistent. While life can be unpredictable for everyone, a consistent pattern of vague and disorganized plans should not be ignored. In conclusion, vague and last-minute plans often signal a lack of emotional investment and clear priorities. A relationship thrives on effort, intentionality, and respect for each other's time. Stoicism reminds us to observe such behaviors calmly and not allow frustration or overthinking to cloud our judgment. If her plans seem uncertain, or you feel like an afterthought, take a step back to evaluate whether this relationship aligns with the time and energy you are willing to invest. Recognizing your worth and setting boundaries will help you maintain control and clarity. She guards her phone and social media excessively. One of the more noticeable signs that she may have multiple partners is her excessive secrecy when it comes to her phone or social media. While everyone values privacy, there's a fine line between healthy boundaries and behavior that signals something might be off. If she's overly protective of her devices or avoids transparency in her online activity, it could be a red flag that she's hiding connections or relationships she doesn't want you to see. For instance, you might notice she always keeps her phone face down, quickly locks it when you enter the room, or becomes visibly uncomfortable if you glance at her screen. While it's perfectly normal to want privacy, these behaviors often stand out when they appear to be deliberate or excessive. If she's suddenly stepping away to take calls or texting frequently, but refusing to explain who she's talking to, it may indicate that she's managing communication with others. Her behavior on social media can provide additional clues. For example, if her online presence doesn't reflect your relationship, such as never posting pictures of you, rarely engaging with your posts, or being overly secretive about who she interacts with, it might suggest she's keeping her options open. Additionally, if she's always online but takes hours or days to respond to your messages, it raises questions about where her attention is truly focused. Another sign is her defensiveness. If you ask a simple question like, "Who were you talking to?" or "What made you smile just now?" and her response feels overly defensive or evasive, it could suggest she has something to hide. A person in a healthy relationship will usually have no problem being transparent, even if they value their privacy. Secrecy and defensiveness often appear when someone fears being discovered. It's important to approach this situation with a calm and rational mindset, as Stoicism teaches. Avoid jumping to conclusions or reacting emotionally. Observe the patterns over time. Trust should be the foundation of any relationship, and when someone consistently acts secretive or guards their phone and social media excessively, it creates a gap in that trust. In conclusion, while privacy is essential in any healthy relationship, excessive secrecy regarding phones and social media can signal deeper issues. Pay attention to her actions, not just her words, and approach the situation with clarity and emotional control. If you notice consistent behavior that undermines transparency, it's an opportunity to step back, communicate your concerns, and evaluate whether the relationship aligns with your values and expectations. Remember, trust thrives where there is openness and honesty. She's emotionally distant and avoids deep conversations. When someone is emotionally invested in a relationship, they naturally seek deeper conversations, sharing their thoughts, feelings, and dreams. However, if she avoids meaningful discussions or seems emotionally distant, it could be a sign that her focus and energy are divided. Emotional distance often arises when someone is trying to maintain surface-level relationships with multiple people, avoiding the intimacy that comes with deeper emotional involvement. One of the first indicators of emotional distance is her tendency to steer conversations toward shallow or trivial topics. For example, she might engage in small talk or discuss daily activities, but avoid conversations about feelings, future goals, or relationship expectations. If you try to bring up a meaningful subject, like asking about her past, her dreams, or her thoughts on your connection, she might shut down, deflect, or change the subject entirely. This pattern of avoidance can signal that she's hesitant to invest deeply because she's keeping her options open. Another red flag is a lack of vulnerability. Emotional intimacy requires a willingness to open up and share fears, hopes, and personal experiences. If she keeps everything on the surface and rarely lets you in, it could mean that she's guarding herself to maintain distance. For instance, when you share something personal, she might respond with indifference or fail to reciprocate with her own experiences. This reluctance to connect emotionally often points to a lack of genuine investment. Her emotional distance may also manifest through a lack of curiosity about your life. Someone who is truly interested in you will ask questions, want to understand your thoughts, and engage with your goals and feelings. If she rarely follows up on things you've shared or seems uninterested in knowing you on a deeper level, it may be because her emotional energy is spread thin across multiple connections. Additionally, emotional distance often translates into inconsistent behavior. Some days, she might seem engaged and affectionate, while on others, she's cold or withdrawn. This emotional fluctuation can leave you feeling confused and uncertain about where you stand in her life. People who juggle multiple partners often struggle to maintain consistency in their emotional availability because they're splitting their attention between several people. In conclusion, emotional distance and a reluctance to engage in deep conversations are significant signs that she may not be fully committed or focused on you alone. While Stoicism teaches us to approach such situations with calm observation and self-control, it's essential to recognize these patterns and reflect on whether the relationship aligns with your emotional needs. Genuine connections thrive on openness, trust, and vulnerability. Without them, a relationship risks remaining shallow and unfulfilling. She frequently cancels or reschedules plans. One of the clearest signs that she may be juggling multiple partners is her tendency to frequently cancel, reschedule, or back out of plans at the last minute. While everyone has unexpected changes in their schedule, a consistent pattern of cancellations without a valid reason can indicate that you are not her priority. This behavior often reveals that she's managing her time between other commitments, possibly including other relationships. At first, her reasons for canceling might sound reasonable. She's busy, something came up, or she's not feeling well. However, when these excuses start to repeat themselves and disrupt your ability to spend meaningful time together, it becomes a pattern worth noting. For example, if she consistently cancels plans but seems to find time for other activities or people, it could be a red flag that her attention is divided elsewhere. Another clue is how she reacts after canceling. If she shows little remorse or doesn't immediately suggest an alternative date to make it up to you, it can signal a lack of investment in the relationship. Someone who truly values their connection with you will prioritize making time and will feel a sense of responsibility to follow through on their commitments. Additionally, frequent last-minute cancellations often come with vague or inconsistent explanations. For instance, one week it's work, the next week it's a family issue, but the details never quite add up. This pattern can leave you feeling frustrated and uncertain about where you stand in her life. Stoicism teaches us to observe behavior calmly and rationally. These inconsistencies shouldn't be ignored, as they often reveal underlying truths about her priorities. Rescheduling is another subtle behavior to watch. While it might seem like an effort to make time for you, repeatedly pushing plans back could suggest she's struggling to manage multiple obligations. If her schedule always seems unpredictable or your time together feels like an afterthought, it's worth reflecting on whether she's genuinely invested in building a consistent connection with you. In conclusion, frequent cancellations and rescheduled plans are often signs of divided priorities and a lack of emotional commitment. While life can be unpredictable, consistent patterns of this behavior suggest that she may be balancing other relationships or commitments. As Stoicism reminds us, focus on what you can control: your time, energy, and boundaries. If you feel like you're being deprioritized, it's important to reflect on whether the relationship aligns with your expectations and values. Consistency in effort and time is the cornerstone of any genuine connection, and without it, a relationship cannot thrive. Her stories and details don't always add up. One of the more subtle but telling signs that she may have multiple partners is when her stories and details don't quite align. Inconsistent explanations or contradictions in what she says can signal that she's juggling different relationships and struggling to keep track of the narrative she's presenting. While everyone may forget minor details from time to time, frequent inconsistencies often point to something deeper. For example, she may mention going somewhere with friends one day, only to tell you a slightly different version of the story later. Perhaps she says she was busy with work, but her social media or a casual comment suggests otherwise. These small gaps in consistency may seem harmless at first, but over time they begin to form a pattern that raises questions. When her words and actions don't align, it's worth paying attention to. Another indicator is her vague responses when you ask follow-up questions. If she brushes off your inquiries with comments like, "Oh, I don't remember," or "It's not important," it could be a way to avoid going into details that might expose inconsistencies. A person with nothing to hide will typically provide clear, straightforward answers, while someone managing multiple connections may become guarded or dismissive. Additionally, when someone is hiding something, their explanations can feel rehearsed or overly elaborate. If she seems to give more information than necessary or her story changes slightly each time she tells it, it may be because she's trying to cover up gaps or confusion about her activities. These moments are subtle but noticeable if you remain observant and calm, as Stoicism teaches. Focus on her patterns rather than reacting emotionally. You may also notice avoidance behaviors when inconsistencies arise. For instance, if you mention a detail that contradicts something she said earlier, she might quickly change the subject or become defensive. This reaction often comes from discomfort and the fear of being caught in a lie. Genuine people are usually open to clarifying misunderstandings, while those with divided attention tend to sidestep the issue. In conclusion, when her stories and details don't add up, it's often a red flag that her attention is split. While it's important to approach the situation with calm observation rather than accusation, these inconsistencies shouldn't be ignored. As the Stoics remind us, focus on what you can control, your response and boundaries. Trust is built on honesty and transparency. If those are lacking, it may be time to evaluate whether the relationship aligns with your values and emotional needs. She avoids introducing you to friends or family. One of the clearest signs that something may be off in your relationship is her reluctance to introduce you to her close friends or family. When someone is genuinely invested in you and sees a future, they naturally want to integrate you into their life, which includes introducing you to their inner circle. If she consistently avoids this step, It could indicate that she's keeping her options open or maintaining multiple relationships. At the start of any relationship, it's normal to take time before involving friends or family, but over time, introductions become a natural progression of a committed connection. If months have passed and she still keeps you separate from her social circle, you have to question why. She may be intentionally avoiding situations where you could learn about other aspects of her life, including the possibility of other relationships. Another red flag is if she's secretive about her friends. For example, when you ask about the people she spends time with, her responses remain vague, or she avoids giving specific names. You might notice she spends time with friends, but you're never invited to join or meet them. This behavior can indicate that she's trying to compartmentalize her life, preventing you from seeing the full picture of her activities or connections. Pay attention to how she responds when you suggest meeting her friends or family. If she's genuinely invested in the relationship, she'll likely be excited for you to meet the people who matter to her. However, if she consistently makes excuses, such as saying they're too busy or it's not the right time yet, this hesitation could be a sign that she's avoiding transparency. She may fear that introducing you will complicate things or reveal inconsistencies in her story. Her behavior in public settings can also provide clues. If you're out together and she seems hesitant to acknowledge you in social settings or avoids introducing you to people she knows, it may be because she's not fully committed to the relationship. This reluctance to connect you with her world could indicate she's managing multiple relationships and is afraid of being found out. In conclusion, avoiding introductions to friends or family is often a significant red flag. While there could be personal reasons for this behavior, such as past trauma or insecurities, it's important to observe whether it's part of a larger pattern of secrecy. As Stoicism teaches us, focus on the behaviors you can observe objectively, and don't ignore your intuition. A healthy, genuine connection thrives on openness and integration, not compartmentalization. If she's keeping you at a distance, take it as an opportunity to reassess whether the relationship aligns with your values and long-term goals. Her social media presence doesn't align with your relationship. In today's digital age, social media often reflects how someone portrays themselves to the world. If her social media presence doesn't align with your relationship, it could be a sign that she's maintaining multiple connections or presenting a version of herself that excludes you. While everyone has the right to privacy, noticeable patterns of secrecy or misalignment shouldn't be ignored. For instance, if she's active on social media, posting photos, sharing updates, and engaging with others, but there's no sign of you, it could indicate that she's deliberately leaving you out. While not everyone is comfortable sharing their relationships online, someone who's genuinely committed will usually include their partner in some form, whether through occasional posts, tags, or mentions. A complete absence of you could mean she's keeping her options open. Another red flag is the nature of her interactions online. If she frequently engages with other men, liking their posts, leaving flirty comments, or receiving them in return without ever acknowledging your presence, it raises questions about her level of commitment. Social media interactions can often blur boundaries, and if you feel like her online behavior is inconsistent with her words, it's worth addressing. Pay attention to how she behaves when you bring up her social media activity. If she becomes defensive or dismissive, saying things like, "It's just social media, don't take it seriously," while simultaneously hiding or controlling what you can see, this could be a sign she's guarding something. Transparency in a relationship doesn't mean you need full access to her online life, but it does mean you should feel confident that she's being honest with you. Another indicator to watch is how she portrays her lifestyle online. If she's presenting herself as single, posting photos or captions that suggest she's unattached or avoiding any mention of a partner, it's worth considering why. People who are managing multiple partners often curate their online image to remain available to others, which creates a disconnect between their digital life and the reality of the relationship. In conclusion, if her social media presence doesn't align with your relationship, it's an opportunity to pause and observe. Stoicism teaches us to approach these situations calmly and rationally. While social media isn't always a perfect reflection of reality, it often reveals underlying truths about someone's priorities and intentions. If her online behavior creates doubt or feels inconsistent, it's important to reflect on whether the relationship aligns with your values and expectations of transparency and trust. She disappears for long periods without explanation. One of the clearest and most concerning signs that she may be involved with multiple partners is her tendency to disappear for long periods without offering a clear explanation. In a healthy relationship, consistent communication and accountability are natural. When someone frequently goes silent or becomes unreachable without reason, it often raises questions about where their time and attention are truly being spent. At first, her disappearances might seem innocent. She may claim to be busy with work or dealing with personal things. While everyone has busy days or moments of needing space, a consistent pattern of silence, followed by vague explanations, becomes a red flag. For example, if she goes days without responding to your messages or calls and then reappears without addressing the absence, it suggests she's avoiding transparency. Another indicator is how she acts when she returns. If she's distant, evasive, or overly casual about her disappearance, it can signal that she's splitting her time and attention. Phrases like, "I just needed some time," or "I had a lot going on," without further clarity, often serve as placeholders to avoid deeper conversations. While respecting someone's need for space is essential, an unexplained absence can erode trust over time. These disappearances may also coincide with suspicious behavior. For instance, she may suddenly become more protective of her schedule or unwilling to share details about her whereabouts. If you notice patterns such as her being unavailable during weekends, holidays, or certain evenings, it could indicate that she's prioritizing someone else during those times. Her avoidance of specifics may be an attempt to manage multiple connections without being found out. It's important to approach this behavior with a stoic mindset. Calmly observe and resist the urge to overreact emotionally. Instead of jumping to conclusions, look for consistency in her actions over time. Trust is built on communication and accountability. When someone disappears regularly without explanation, it creates uncertainty and prevents a solid emotional connection from forming. In conclusion, disappearing for long periods without explanation is often a sign of divided priorities and a lack of transparency. While occasional distance is natural, consistent absences combined with vague reasoning are worth addressing. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control: our response, our boundaries, and our self-respect. If her behavior continues to undermine trust, it's essential to reflect on whether the relationship aligns with your values and expectations for honesty and consistency. You notice a lack of genuine investment in the relationship. One of the clearest indicators that she may have multiple partners is her lack of genuine investment in the relationship. A person who is truly committed to you will show effort, care, and enthusiasm in building the connection. However, when her behavior feels detached, minimal, or inconsistent, it could suggest that her emotional and mental energy is being split among multiple relationships. A lack of investment often reveals itself through her effort or lack thereof. If you're the one always initiating plans, conversations, or checking in on her well-being, it might be a sign that she's not prioritizing you. Healthy relationships involve mutual effort, where both partners actively contribute to spending time together, communicating, and nurturing the bond. When she's disengaged or indifferent, it can leave you feeling like you're carrying the relationship alone. Another red flag is her level of emotional availability. If she avoids discussing meaningful topics, such as your future together, feelings, or shared goals, it suggests she may not see the relationship as something long-term. For example, she might dodge questions about exclusivity or make vague statements like, "Let's just see where this goes." While it's perfectly fine to take things slow, a consistent reluctance to invest emotionally could indicate that you're not her only focus. Additionally, pay attention to how much effort she puts into understanding you. A woman who is genuinely interested in you will ask questions, remember details about your life, and show interest in your goals and dreams. If she rarely follows up on things you've shared or seems disinterested in getting to know you on a deeper level, it signals emotional detachment. People who are juggling multiple relationships often don't have the time or energy to form deeper connections with any single person. Her actions often speak louder than her words. If she says she cares about you but fails to show it through consistency, support, or presence, there's a clear disconnect. For instance, she may agree to spend time together, but frequently cancels or acts distracted when you're together. This lack of follow-through highlights that her investment in the relationship is superficial. In conclusion, a lack of genuine investment is a strong sign that her focus may be divided. Relationships thrive on mutual effort, emotional depth, and consistent actions, and without those elements, trust and connection suffer. Stoicism reminds us to observe these behaviors objectively and not to settle for less than we deserve. If you feel undervalued or unappreciated, take a step back to reflect on whether this relationship aligns with your needs and values. A truly invested partner will make the effort to nurture the connection, not leave you questioning their intentions. Her behavior changes unexpectedly without reason. One of the most telling signs that she may have multiple partners is sudden and unexplained changes in her behavior. When someone is managing multiple relationships, their energy, time, and emotional focus often fluctuate, leading to inconsistent or unpredictable actions. While occasional mood shifts are normal for everyone, repeated and abrupt changes in her behavior without a clear explanation can indicate that her attention is divided. For example, she might suddenly go from being affectionate and attentive to distant and uninterested. One week she's eager to spend time with you and engage in meaningful conversations. The next, she's unresponsive, dismissive, or seems preoccupied. These shifts often leave you feeling confused, wondering what might have caused such a dramatic change in her demeanor. If she avoids giving you a clear answer, it could be because she's balancing other commitments or relationships. Another clue is inconsistency in her emotional availability. For instance, she may show interest in you when it's convenient, but pull away when you try to deepen the connection. This hot and cold behavior often happens when someone is trying to juggle multiple connections as their emotional energy becomes stretched thin. If she seems overly enthusiastic one moment and emotionally distant the next, it's worth observing this pattern more closely. Her excuses or explanations for these shifts might also feel vague or repetitive. If she suddenly cancels plans, acts irritable without cause, or becomes less available, she may offer reasons like, "I'm just stressed," or "things are crazy right now." While these might occasionally be true, consistent changes without deeper explanations can indicate something more significant happening behind the scenes. Additionally, pay attention to how she interacts with you after these behavioral shifts. Does she overcompensate with affection or reassurance after disappearing or pulling back? This could be a sign that she's trying to smooth things over after spending her time or attention elsewhere. These cycles of pulling away and re-engaging are emotionally draining and can create a sense of instability in the relationship. In conclusion, unexplained and sudden changes in her behavior often signal a deeper issue, such as divided focus or emotional juggling. While Stoicism teaches us to remain calm and avoid unnecessary assumptions, it also encourages us to observe patterns with clarity and rationality. If her behavior feels inconsistent, it's worth addressing the situation with an open and honest conversation. A healthy, genuine relationship is built on consistency, trust, and transparency. Anything less is a sign that the connection may not align with your values and emotional needs. Thank you for watching today's video on 11 Secret Signs She Has Multiple Partners.